Welcome back to Health and Wellness with Coach A.T. Moore. By now, I hope you have had a chance to listen to the first part of my conversation with Lacresia Williams. We're going to jump right into part 2.
Yeah, let me ask you a question. When you decided to leave working in the prison system, why do you think the only option that you came up with was, I'm just going to dance? Did you know any other dancers at that time? Were there people that you knew making really good money? Or do you think that was just the only, were there no other opportunities? Why was that your first choice?
So that was my first choice because honestly, at that time, the strip club scene was very popular.
Yeah.
At that moment.
Yeah.
A lot of the rappers were talking about it in the songs. It was just one of those things where it was a thing.
Yeah.
At that time.
Yeah. You can make good money fast.
Yes. And then that was another thing. I think also like King of Diamonds, Miami. Everybody's talking about King of Diamonds in Miami. Mm-hmm. These girls make so much money as strippers. They driving in these cars and this car. And I think because it was like the music, it was such an influence in the music.
Yeah.
It was one of those things like, well, maybe I should try it.
Yeah.
You know, and it was even such an influence that around that time, a lot of the these pole dancing classes were started called Exposed Fitness. Mm-hmm. And they was like building all these Exposed Fitness. And I remember me and my friend at the time was like, you want to go to Exposed Fitness and see what's going on? You know, you want to try. And I didn't know how to dance at all, but I just thought it was something fun. And I remember when we went to the class, these girls kept saying, you ladies look so exotic. Mm-hmm. If y'all went down to the strip club, y'all would make so much money. And I was like, what does exotic mean? But, you know, but they just kept saying, y'all are so pretty. I mean, we just kept hearing it. If y'all go to the strip club, y'all will make so much money.
Yeah.
And so after, you know, a couple times, it's like, let's go down to the strip club and see what's going on. So we actually just went in there as spectators. Mm-hmm. We went in there just to sit at the bar, and the girls that were dancing, they said, y'all dance? And we said, no. They said, oh my God, if y'all came down here to Norma Jean's, y'all would make so much money. Mm-hmm. And we used to keep sitting there like, what is this so much money?
Yeah. Describe so much money.
Right. So I think from that, from hearing that, from hearing it in the music, from, you know, you probably seeing shows and, you know, these girls are dancers. And then I hated my job at the time. I was in an abusive relationship. All of this is like, well, maybe I can go to dancing.
Yeah.
You know? So as I'm thinking more about it, I see how it made sense.
Yeah.
If I can go to school during the day, I could be with my daughter in the evenings. And that way, work won't take up too much of my time. I can just go dance at night while she sleep.
So you were 21 at this time, correct?
Yes.
You were 21. What do you think, looking back, Lacresia, looking back at it today, what do you think your mindset was back then?
Man. Oh, man. Back then, I remember, like when I first started, I was also excited to start. Like, I'm gonna be this dancer. It was almost like I was flaunting it. Like, I'm gonna be a dancer. Like, I'm gonna be a stripper. You know, yeah. I'm gonna do this. I had this whole vision. Mm-hmm. And I remember, like, you know, people that probably saw better in me saying, are you sure that that's something you want to do? Like, what do you mean? You know, and you started, do you like it? I'm like, I love it, you know. But now realizing I was young, you know, like I didn't know any better. You know, people telling me, are you sure? Like, no, I see better. I'm like, well, you don't pay my bills. You know, it's like I was being combative.
Yeah.
But not knowing that those people saw something in me that I might not have saw myself, and they were just trying to help me. I felt like also I was hurting.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize a lot of the pain that I went through at a younger age, with maybe the lack of the emotional support, maybe my father not being in my life, maybe dealing with the abuse. I might have been looking for some attention in some other areas, but I was receiving the wrong attention.
People kept telling you, are you sure you want to do this? And you just said that people must have saw something in you that you did not see in yourself at that time. What do you think that they saw that you didn't see at that time that made them say, are you sure you want to do this?
Yeah. I think they saw an ambitious woman, or young lady. I think because I always had goals. I was always smart.
Yeah.
I was in college.
Yeah.
You know, like I always was goal like driven. You know, like I always knew I wanted to be a lawyer. And I think for me to say I'm gonna be a dancer, it was just like a what?
Yeah.
Not true, you know. So I think that, and it's no shade to no, you know, other women or no other females, but I think they were like, leave that to somebody else.
Yeah.
That's not you. Why are you doing it?
Yeah.
You know. So I think that that's what people saw. They probably also saw like it's dangerous. Like that's a world. That's a whole nother world.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, that's a whole nother. I call it it's a lifestyle.
Yes.
It's not just something that you do. That is a lifestyle that you are living at that time.
So when you entered into exotic dancer, stripper career path, when you went in, did you have a goal? Did you have an exit plan? Did you have, okay, I'm gonna do this for this amount of time, make this amount of money and transition out? Did you have a plan, or was it just this works for now and I'll figure it out later? I'll figure it out as I go.
I didn't go into it with a plan. However, I did always know I was different. So because, you know, I always knew that this is not something that I wanted to do forever. I did have goals. Like I was in college. It wasn't like I just, you know, jumped in there and I was like, well, I'm gonna just do this for forever. How long? I knew that I was in school. I knew I was going to school for my for criminal justice to get my bachelor's. So I never wanted to be like one of those people that I flaunt myself as a stripper. Like I'm all over social media as a stripper. I'm in a magazine like I never wanted to be viewed that way, because I knew that the long-term goal was for me to graduate. Even beyond me being a dancer. So I didn't go in with a plan that said, okay, well, and when I graduate, I'll be done.
Yeah.
I did know though that I was always different from the other females.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was always like more so, I don't know, like all the time, like guys would come up to me and just say, you're just different.
Yeah.
You're different. It's something about you that's different. Like you don't belong in here.
Yeah.
And I knew that I was different. I couldn't pinpoint it at the time.
Yeah.
But I knew that I just had a different type of ambition.
You mentioned earlier that you were hurting. So when you reflect on your childhood growing up, what do you think, if anything, was missing? Do you think there was a void?
Yeah.
When I was reading your bio, one of the words that popped out of the page when I was reading it is that you stated that you felt stuck.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I definitely felt like there was a void, but I didn't understand how much of a void was there. You know, I even think of like the attention that I received from men. Sometimes I liked it, sometimes I didn't. It was almost like when you're on a stage and the lights, it's like the attention that you get. But maybe what if that was a lack of attention that I felt like I didn't receive, you know, in my childhood. So maybe that's validation, or I thought that was validation for me. You know, a void that, you know, I just felt like I was just hurting in so many areas. You know, so, you know, as far as a void, I definitely know that there were definitely voids. I mean, even from probably me feeling the hurt from my father. So now I have men that are giving me this attention, or I'm looking for this probably in men, you know, for them to do stuff for me or spend money on me. I definitely know that there was some voids there.
Do you think anything would have been different had your father stayed in the home, been been present, poured into you, you think that you would have not had a void, or maybe not had anything missing? Do you think that the absence of your father had anything to do with this void, or was it more of the relationship with your mother at that time?
One, I want to say it was both. I feel like, as far as my father not being there, I'm not sure, because I don't think I never really thought about it, because I always felt that this was my walk. So I never thought if things were different, how would it look? Now, however, I do probably feel like if I had my father there to really even tell me from the beginning that a man is not supposed to put their hands on a woman, or even to, how when a father first meet that guy and they say, I like him, it's something about him. I don't really feel like I ever had that, hey, no, this is not the person for you.
That protection.
Yes, that protection. So I feel like because I didn't have that protection, it led to so many different things. So it started from the abuse, and then I went into the club. So I feel like maybe if I had that protection, I would have had a different walk. But like I said, I never really thought of it, because I guess I just always felt that this was just my walk. I never looked at if it was different, how would it look?
Why do you feel that it's so necessary to share your story instead of hiding from it? Because you have evolved. You got a bachelor's and a master's.
Thank you.
You're a supervisor. You have a lot of stuff going on that we're going to talk about. Anyone just meeting you would have never known that this was the beginning of your journey. So why is it? And you could have just kept rolling and not, share your story. Why do you feel like it's necessary for you not to be ashamed of it, but to stand 10 toes down and share it?
Yeah, because one, I feel like when you're authentic and you're transparent and you're true to yourself, it's freeing.
Yeah. Say that again, please.
When you are authentic and transparent, it is freeing.
Yeah.
It's like, I can be me.
Yeah.
Right? And also when you can be me and I can be authentic and share whatever it is that I've been through, one, it allows, nobody can say anything about me that I didn't share about myself.
That part. The enemy can't use none of your past.
Nope.
Because you're telling your own story.
I'm telling my own story.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Two, I feel like when you are authentic and transparent, it allows people to open up to you. Mm-hmm. So it's people that may watch, this interview, listen to this interview, and feel like, wow, because she was so transparent, I can open up.
Yeah.
And talk about some things that I've been through. It's so many women that when I share my journey or I share anything about my story on my social media, I get so many DMs that say thank you. Yeah. And they will give me the rundown of what is going on.
That's how I actually reached out to you, because we resigned in the same circle. We went through the same transformational coaching program. But I think I caught one of your stories. I think you were speaking to some young women about your story, and me coming from an educational background. I think that as young ladies, kids in high school are trying to figure their way out, I think they need to hear stories like that, because you just never know, someone's walk. That's how I connect to you. So I can just imagine people are reaching out to you.
Yeah.
Say, man, that was my story, or that is currently my story. So
And when I went to go speak to them young ladies at their high school, funny story is I'm going to go speak to the young ladies.
Yeah.
One of the young ladies, and I was asked by a friend of mine to come in. She said, now these girls, they kind of the worst of the worst in the school. Can't nobody tell them nothing. They don't pay attention to nobody. I got in that room and I started talking to those girls, and she was looking. She said,
yeah, they were leaned in.
Yes, she said, they don't listen to nobody. Right. And the funny thing about it was one of the young ladies went home to tell her mom that I came and I spoke to them. And the mother sent me a DM and said, "Thank you so much for coming to my daughter's school. She told me about you, and I'm going through some of the things that you talked about. So I'm coming to talk to the young girls." Mm-hmm. She actually told me that her mom dealt with some abuse and she was dealing with, and her mom reached out to me.
Okay, so wait, back up. So you're speaking to students in a high school, specifically young girls. Mm-hmm. One of the young girls that is listening to you share your story, mm-hmm. here's what you just said, goes back and shares your testimony, because that's what it is. It's not mm-hmm. It's a testimony. Mm-hmm. Goes and shares your testimony with her mother, because her mother is dealing with some physical abuse. Mm-hmm. The mother just doesn't like brush it off. Yeah. Mother contacts you to say, mm-hmm. thank you. I don't know why that makes me emotional. Yeah. I don't know why that makes me emotional, but it goes back to your title as a coach. Yeah. Transformational.
Yes. Oh wow. Yes.
Transformational.
Yes.
Yeah.
So not only are we transforming these young girls that was sitting in the classroom, she went back to tell her mom.
Generational.
Now we got some generations.
Yes. You better live out your purpose, Miss Williams.
Yes.
Live out your purpose. Oh my God.
Absolutely. Yes. I have to.
Yes,
God told me to.
Yes, and you are definitely being obedient to your calling and to your assignment. And this evolution that you have walked through, you talked about God, leaning into God. What made you did you grow up in the church? Did you have people that made you familiar with church and God, or all of a sudden did you decide, you know what, I want to go to church? Because you mentioned earlier that after the murder-suicide, mm-hmm. to church. Did you go to church?
So I always went to church. So as a kid, I always went to church, not consistently. We didn't have like much of a church home. I remember maybe going to like a few different churches, like with my mom or my grandfather. Mm-hmm. But I didn't understand church. Like, of course, I would go probably to like the kids' church, or I would sit in church, but I never really understood church. And I remember, in the midst of the relationship with the husband and wife, I was always so down. Mm-hmm. I just really was like, I don't want to do this. I just didn't feel like I wanted to be there. Yeah. I didn't feel peace.
Yeah.
And I remember trying to find a church even around that time. I said, I want to try to find a church. I want to go to church. Mm-hmm. And then after, the whole situation happened, and like I said, I even remember when my mom invited me to church, mm-hmm. and I told the pastor that I'm tired. Like I want to be better. Yeah. I don't want to dance anymore. I don't want to live this lifestyle anymore. And I remember she prayed for me. Mm-hmm. And I remember after that, like I remember going to church on New Year's. I remember like when I got done dancing, I was just going to church. I was going to church. Like I said, especially after that murder-suicide happened, I was going to church. I was just praying. And a few years later, I got baptized.
Wow. Was that the first time you got baptized?
Mm-hmm.
So when you were talking about your church experience, it seems like you had church attendance.
Yeah.
Like you were going through all the checklist of being, mm-hmm. The Christian.
Yeah.
I hear you talk. It sounds like you transitioned from going to church and having attendance to actually having a personal relationship.
Yes.
When did you start to have a personal relationship and feel like, okay, I am worthy? Because I feel like God or the Holy Spirit was disrupting your path. Like you never felt, you couldn't describe it.
Yes.
In your words, you said there was just no peace. And there were certain people, even in the strip clubs, that said, you don't belong here. So I felt like the Holy Spirit was kind of like sending messages and
oh, yes. Oh my God. It's so powerful.
Don't park here.
Yes.
And every time you felt like, okay, this is it, I've made it, there was a disruption that led to it. It's like, this isn't it. And I think the Holy Spirit does that for a reason, because when the Holy Spirit doesn't want us to settle, it has to disrupt some things.
Yes. Oh man, it's like I really think when I, stopped dancing and that suicide happened, it was like God gave me another chance at life.
Yeah.
And it's like ever since he gave me another chance, it's like he showed me, like, I am here with you.
Yeah.
I will bless you far more if you follow me. And that's why I say I can't help but to talk about what God has done, because it was him.
Yeah.
It was nothing but him.
I love the transparency as she's sharing her story. Part 3 will air tomorrow. Make sure you come back so you can hear the final conversation with Miss Lacresia Williams. This is Health and Wellness with Coach A.T. Moore.